Top three intentions when I start a new role, job, or position are purpose, team, and pipeline. Welcome to the My Three Intentions series. Hello everyone, I'm Kelvin Fu, Principal Advisor of 167. In this series of videos, I like to share what goes on in my headspace around the top three intentions whenever I step into a new objective. These new objectives could be building or reshaping a new team, project, or business. What I hope to be able to do is encourage intention-based thinking by sharing what unfolds in my head, as well as how that leads to different priorities that I unfold over the next 3 months to 6 months or even up to 18 months. I hope that this will help you in some ways in terms of unfolding what your intentions are whenever you step into a similar situation as I have. In this episode, I'd like to share my three intentions when I start a new role. And I think this is something that most of us will be familiar with. I know I've had a fair few of new roles, positions, or jobs over the last 25 years, and these typically surround building a new team, reshaping a team, or kickstarting a new business. And the typical objective of such a situation in terms of starting a new role would be the ability to deliver results, benefits, or some kind of a change within the shortest and time possible and in a palatable way or form. And as you can imagine, walking in such an environment in day one, in terms of what I'll be feeling, I'll typically be feeling a little bit anxious, yet excited at the same time. Just me having my eyes scanning around everyone, picking up the surroundings, understanding the culture of the business through its setup, crawling through different internet information, for example, and of course, prior to even stepping into the organization, I'll be doing heaps of research. I'll have information that I would have asked the recruiters or the immediate hiring agent or the hiring manager themselves in terms of learning more about the business, or even talking to people who I might already know in the business. And as you can imagine, day one in walking into the environment, I'll be getting myself comfortable and also just trying to leave a good impression at the start, because we want to be positive when we come in. At the same time, we want to be able to show people that, hey, we're not here to try to overturn or cause massive eruption or disruption to the business. We're not trying to unsettle dust here. We're actually trying to learn more about the business and how we actually fit into making a change. So if you can imagine such an objective of a situation, then it's largely around how do we establish perhaps what I call a form of art in terms of how we become part of the business, and also how we make the other team and members as well as stakeholders comfortable, and then slowly perhaps setting some kind of a momentum or in terms of a pace that then allows people to understand who I am in that space. And so much about what I'm feeling. Typically, I'll also be trying to understand what others are feeling, and I believe that they'll be feeling just as anxious as I would, as well as excited in many instances where people would probably hear lots about my intentions before I even step in the organization. I'm sure they would have checked me out on LinkedIn and in terms of crawling through my experience and expertise, and perhaps start maybe having some kind of ideas or perception in terms of who I am as a person, what my dealings would be. And they, as much as they will feel excited as well, because perhaps they are longing for some kind of a positive change, if it's an environment where I'm going to reshape, and if it's a new environment where I'm building, then they'll be longing for to understand what kind of contributions that they can bring. So all in terms of excitement, of course they will also be facing some anxiety in terms of hoping, as I would imagine, hoping that I'll be comfortable with who they are as a person, as you can imagine, as well as they'll be anxious in terms of what knowing what they can provide to this team that I'll be building. And in the new space of kickstarting a new business, of course, there'll be new hiring, there'll be investors that I'll be working with, there'll be perhaps a current board if it's a joint venture. as well as the various different business partners within that new business. So I like to step through the three intentions. First of all, purpose. For me, I think knowing the intention in unfolding purpose is important because it's largely around knowing, first of all, what's important, what am I there to do, right? Or what is the intention of the purpose of that business function? And when I say purpose, it means touching base with my immediate manager or whoever the sponsor, if I may use the word sponsor in general, who the sponsor is, and knowing what is the sponsor's intention in terms of perhaps what's their pain. And these are things I would have picked up prior to walking into role from day one. So things like pain, what sort of gain, and what sort of solutions or in terms of service and product intention that they see in terms of expectations that would then lead into their strategies or perhaps the vision as a wider vision. And by understanding that and also unfolding with stakeholders, that would then enable me to then get start building a picture of what the purpose of this team looks like, because that would then unfold into subsequent activities over the next 2 to 3 months on how I would then create a strategy that would then give the team, as well as my stakeholders, as well as my reporting lines, my bosses, as well as my board or executives, depending on how the setup is, how I'm going to unfold over the next 18 months through the strategy that I would create. And while I may say 18 months in the strategy, it will also give them an idea on what's the immediate 3 months in terms of the first 90 days, if you may call it that, as well as the first 6 months, 12 months, and then 18 to 24 months, just depending on what what is the preference in terms of how strategies would be palatable for for the people, the culture, and the team and its senior and its management. And this purpose also would then allow me to continue that communication with the immediate team that I'm working with. And it then forms a way that I would be able to use as a platform to then get buy-in on the strategy. Hence, the first most important thing for me is largely around establishing the purpose. And the purpose, would cover things such as the strategy would then encompass things like the value proposition, the operating model, what is the vision, what is the perhaps the team structure that will be required to deliver the operating model, what is also the pipeline of activities to take place, as well as also other areas such as what are the opportunities. You also see different areas such as the stakeholder maps and so on and so forth, without diving too deep into the strategy. Hence, purpose is the first thing. The second thing would be the team. So when I step in a role, especially if it's largely around reshaping a current function or a current team, then for me, I think making a connection or establishing that relationship with the immediate team is very important. As I've mentioned in several of my other videos, people are the most valued asset, and I think the ability to unfold, and perhaps by taking on what I call empathy walks, where I start to learn about them and they start to learn about me, and being the ability to set a good example. And I typically would enact a sort of a setup where I will be vulnerable, and I'm comfortable in being vulnerable in sharing as much as I can possibly about myself, because I believe that as a person who's leading the team, I need to be set an example, and setting an example means not being afraid to be vulnerable. And when I can demonstrate that, that's where I believe that trust is then slowly being planted, if you will, like planting a seed, right? Because knowing that from a team perspective, that's the first time they would have met me, that's the first time I would have met them. And then the ability to unfold that then also sets a strong perception or intention that I'm here to trust them, and hoping that that trust then becomes cyclical in terms of, or resonates in that sense, because if I can resonate trust, then hopefully that trust is then echoed back. So the team is important because I need to learn about them. I need to learn about what their pain are, what their gains in terms of benefits they are intending in terms of their role, as well as what is the view in terms of the service or products, particular areas it's delivering. I think it's important to also share that purpose and team works hand in hand. I need to be able, and my goal is to create an environment, a team, or a business that is by and for the people, because I believe that when I can do that, then it's not just me running a team, or in the sense it's not just me or everyone waiting for me to create a solution or hearing my thoughts, but it's empowering everyone in the team to create solutions, to be able to track progress, as well as to help us monitor together. Hence, by creating an environment that's by and for the people, then we're going to see everyone taking ownership, feeling skin in the game. Hence, for me, team is the second other intention from purpose that I first mentioned, and they both work hand in hand. The third area is pipeline. So as you can imagine, if I'm stepping into a new environment or if I'm reshaping, then a picture of the pipeline is important, because these would then work hand in hand with purpose as well as team, right? A pipeline also means in terms of, if it's a new environment that I'm establishing, then what does the pipeline of activities look like? Because everyone would like to know, because these are reporting requirements, and it also allows everyone to track or monitor the progress that that they might play a part with, or in terms of ensuring that I can demonstrate measurable progress in my job that I step into, or this new role or position or job that I step into. And also, a pipeline could also mean, if I'm reshaping a current team, would be what is the pipeline of activities that's really there. Because as much as I'm going in there to build a future together, or emerge a future together with the current team, I also need to be cognizant of what the current deliverables are in terms of what the stakeholders are expecting. And by also knowing what the current activities that needs to be delivered would then give me a good idea on what is this future that we are trying to emerge together. Because we need to be cognizant that you may need that many that much of a team size or effort or strength in order to deliver your current expectations. It does not necessarily mean that this current team can also take on the new future that we're intending to emerge. Hence, developing a pipeline of activities that's clear, that encompasses a strategy or a purpose that we're all coming together to emerge, as well as the current BAU requirements that we're going to deliver, is important. Hence, if we now put together purpose, team, and pipeline, if we put all this together, and you might have different ways in which you might think about, but for me, purpose brings clarity in terms of what I need to do when I step in a new role, and that is to not only to learn about what the purpose of the function is, what's the purpose of my function. It also allows me to learn about how the strategy, how the things like the vision, how the operating model, how the value proposition, how the opportunities, as well as how all the stakeholders come together under the purpose. And in terms of the team, it allows me to then start establishing a new relationship with the current team. How do I then understand what they're paying, understand what they gain, as well as understand what their intentions in terms of the products and services that they intend to deliver? Collaborate that with the purpose as well. And lastly, be clear about what the pipelines of activities are, not just in terms of the BAU or business as usual activities to be delivered, but also in terms of this future we're intending to emerge. Hence, putting together purpose, team, and pipeline then forms a very, very clear initial intention when I step in a new role. And I communicate with the entire team, as well as my immediate bosses or executives or board that I'm reporting to, or what my top 3 intentions are. I hope that by sharing these top 3 intentions are helpful to you: purpose, team, pipeline. You might have something that's similar, but I hope that if you do step in a new role, think about purpose, team, pipeline. Thank you.